What's up, everybody? So today in this video, I'm going to be doing an in-depth dive into how I'm using the Quad Cortex for live purposes, okay? Ever since the end of the summer here in 2023, I purchased a Quad Cortex used on reverb.com, and then I immediately put it through its paces and I took it out on tour. And a lot of you guys have been asking, like, hey, what amps are you using? What cabs are you using? What pedals? Me and the other guitar player in the band I was touring with, a guy by the name of Eric Woolard, who also has a channel here on YouTube. We went out on the road with a band called For the Fallen Dreams, FTFD. And during pre-pro, before the tour, we collectively came up with my tone and kind of just was like, you know, twisting some knobs and seeing what worked for the band setting, all right? So today, I know the broad strokes, but like I'm going to go over the detailed ins and outs of everything that I'm using in my Quad Cortex, okay? So if you want to subscribe beforehand, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much in advance. And with that being said, let's start diving in and talking about some of my tones. So looking at camera 2 here, basically we have two signal paths going on. One is what's going to front of house, which is what you guys heard if you guys came to a show when you guys were, you know, standing in front of the stage. That's what's coming through the PA as well as going into my in-ears, all right? And then row number 2 is exactly the same exact signal chain minus the cabinet, and that was running through a power amp and then going through a 4x12 on stage. So taking a look at my signal chain, first and foremost, we just got a plain old simple noise gate. This is obviously to keep your signal nice and tight and, you know, nice and staccato-y. So if I bypass it, you can obviously tell why we need a noise gate, right? Just eliminates all the noise. Next, we have a pitch shifter. Now, these are the settings for the pitch shifter. Basically, it was just going up a whole step. During the set, we had a different tuning change, and the pitch shifting on this thing works really, really well here. So let's go to drop B. Who doesn't love drop B? I had great results with using the pitch shifter in a live setting. It worked flawlessly, and there is no latency really. And the tone, yeah, maybe the tone changes a little bit, but regardless, I think it certainly is passable. So like if you guys are ever interested in using the Quad Cortex and you're curious about the pitch shifting capabilities, I certainly would highly recommend it, okay? Now, before we go any further and continue to talk about the Quad Cortex, I want to let you guys know that this video is sponsored by Sweetwater. They allowed me to use a Sennheiser Wireless for the entire tour and allow me to use it for further endeavors. So this setup that we're talking about today is what I'm going to be rocking for the foreseeable future. I have some plans coming out in the spring potentially. You know, the universe likes to mess with these, so don't say anything out loud. But you know, going forward, if and when I'm going out on the road again, I'm going to be using this Sennheiser Wireless unit, okay? The Sennheiser Wireless is called the Sennheiser EWD SK Wireless Body Pack Bass System R1 through R6, and I'll put a link down below in the description if you guys want to go pick one up, okay? Not telling you have to go buy one, but I highly recommend it because I literally spent over a month with it and it worked really, really great, man. I'm using the wireless system for this video to give you guys an accurate representation of my live tone. I'm using the body pack that comes with it, and then I'm running it right into the wireless system, okay? Basically, every single night, what I would do is I would just sync it up, and then I was good to go. Syncing it up to get the specific frequency that the pack and the wireless unit were talking to took a mere 5 seconds, and that was about it, man. I highly recommend the unit, and like I said, if you guys want to scoop one up or check it out, I'll put a link down below in the description, okay? Thank you so much to Sweetwater for sponsoring this video. It means a lot, all right? Thank you so much for always just being so good to me. Up next, after the pitch shifter, we just got a plain old tried and true Green 808, the tried and true overdrive, right? Like who doesn't love an overdrive in front of a high gain amplifier? So it obviously does the overdrive thing very well, which is just tighten up the signal, give you a little bit of gain, and maybe like a little bit of a mid push. You know, you can obviously dial in the tone to taste. Mark Tremonti, just a little fun fact here, I just thought of this. Mark Tremonti always puts his tone to the far left or all the way to the darkest setting. And I think that works. However, like if you were getting down into super low tunings, you might want to kick up the tone in the opposite direction to make sure you're cutting through in the mix and not getting lost in the bass frequencies. But for me, I like to keep it right, honestly, just dead center and just right in the middle. So I think it sounds pretty sick, man. From there, the meat and potatoes of my rig, we have the EVH Red Channel 6L6 version. That's just what I'm using. And honestly, man, apart from just adding a lot of treble, I really don't do too much else with it. I mean, you can EQ anything to taste, but honestly, in my opinion, like any good amplifier with just the EQ right down the middle, 5s across the board, or, you know, noon on the clock right down the middle, it's great, man. And if you notice, the gain here is pretty minimal. Honestly, I could even get away with a little less gain. You don't need a lot of gain with EVH amps, because if you crank it, a little too much, right? It kind of gets washed out a little bit. So if you just kick it back a little bit. Then from there, the cabinet. I'm using the 4x12 Cali Stand OSA V3003 in mono. You got all that? Basically, it's just like a dual rectifier cabinet, I'm assuming. Some sort of Mesa cab. And then I'm just using a 57 and then a Ribbon 160 microphone. That's all I'm using on the cabinet. I feel like you can't go wrong with any sort of Mesa cab, honestly, like in any sort of modeling unit or plug-in. Like, you know, there's a reason why the V30 and, you know, Mesa cabs are kind of cliche anymore, but, you know, they sound sick, man. So, like, you know, you hear a lot of people say, like, oh, try something new, try something different. Totally get that. But especially in a live setting for, like, a streamlined performance and you just want something that, you know, is going to work, you know, can't go wrong with this. So, like I said, Eric and I, the other guitar player, we tweaked around, we messed around, and we just found out that this one was, you know, the best one for the job. And then the post effects, we have some reverb and delay. Honestly, not really going to worry about that today because, you know, I'm predominantly a rhythm player. Anytime I get hired for something, I'm playing rhythms, man. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm good at, and that's my forte. Yeah, sure, I can get a solo in here and there every now and again, but, you know, honestly, rhythm playing is what I'm genuinely good at. So, the last thing is just a 9-band graphic EQ, and you know, there's certainly some tweaks in there. But honestly, like, again, kind of with everything, like, I'm not super partial and attached to these settings. This is just what we came up with in pre-pro. But if I bypass it, let's just see what it sounds like. I haven't done this in over a month. Maybe just a little bit more mid-forward because we got 1 and 2K boosted a little bit. But again, with or without an EQ, I think it sounds good, man. And I think the meat and potatoes of this rig certainly comes from the EVH amplifier and the cabinet. So that pair together is just like the bulk. And then I think Eric wanted to do a little bit of EQing just because, you know, he was production managing the tour as well and was in charge of everything. So if it was good to his ears, it was good for mine. You know what I mean? Like, I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Like, I can play through anything. But yeah, man, that's pretty much it, dude. That's just pretty much how I run the Quad Cortex. I know a lot of you guys are asking and we're curious about, like, the ins and outs. So that's pretty much it, dude. you know, I'm pretty impartial to gear in general. Like if it sounds good, it is good. I don't care, you know, if it's an EVH or a Victory or a diesel or whatever, man. Like, and especially if somebody else is kind of at the helm, meaning like somebody else is in charge of dialing in the tones, kind of like in this past scenario that I was in. Like if they're cool with it, I'm cool with it. Like I'm not really that into having my tone. I feel as though I could be relatively comfortable with anything. And I know a lot of guitar players, they feel super connected to their specific tone, and I totally get that. But for me, I don't know, maybe I'm like just trying to view it from like a team player type of thing, or I'm not sure exactly what my mentality is, but that is my mentality nonetheless. I'm kind of just like, yeah, sure, you know, I'm cool with it. That's just kind of just how I roll, I guess. So last thing I'll say before I get out of here in terms of the wireless unit, like there's this whole debate like wireless units color their tone. I don't know if that's true or not. I truly don't. But I will say this wireless unit that I have been using, honestly, like if it's coloring my tone, I'm cool with it. You know, like I think it sounds fine no matter what. So, you know, maybe I'll do an A/B test on seeing whether or not, you know, it does color the tone, but I haven't done that. But regardless, man, like kind of like what I was just saying a couple minutes ago, like I'm not super attached to any sort of specific tone. So everybody, that's pretty much it, man. That's how I use my Quad Cortex Live, and that's how I use the wireless system from Sennheiser Live. And like I said in the beginning of this video, going forward, this is my setup. I'm not really interested right now in traveling and or buying another model or anything like that. So yeah, man, this is what I'm going to be using, okay? So one more time, a huge shout out to Sweetwater.com for sponsoring this video. I love working with Sweetwater. I'm very thankful for the opportunity. And with that being said, everybody, I'll see you guys in the next video, okay? Later.